Hi, everybody. Welcome to the new normal. I'm your host, Lisa Davis, aka Litecoin Lisa. Today is a Vsteg day. Yesterday was actually Oz day. If you guys watch Skullcap, you know that 14 or 41 are Oz and nods to Oz. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We're going to take a break from our comic book, The Ultimate Oz, and we are going to talk about Artemis and some aliens. We'll be right back with Ben right after this. Oh, bummer. My little video didn't have sound. I created it on Grok Imagine and it worked, but I think when I copied it, I had sound turned off.
Just for these Vsteg videos, huh?
Yeah, just for fun.
Okay.
Just for fun. I can try.
Well, how are you?
I'm over it. I'm over it all.
Yeah. It's getting down to it. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know what else to do. It's kind of like it's also very tiring because you know I've been living this preparatory period decoding the environment with the steganography especially. And you know, if you go through the catalog of videos, everybody that's been deeply into my stuff, they've seen kind of, at least with our flavor and our community, how correct we've been on our suppositions. And starting to get to the point where I think that space alien other is maybe not what everybody thought.
Right.
Where like direct contact with aliens might not be this physical, hey, we're going to shake hands and we're either going to be diplomatic about it or we're going to shoot each other with phasers. And right. I don't see it going that way. I think our awareness of our mind control that the alien at the hand of the aliens is really what's going to be our defining moment. Yeah. Not a moment. It's our defining era, the defining aspect of the era of
maybe
disclosure.
That's the breaking of time. You know, in Cliff's data, he talks about how there will be no more time. And
well, that's the 88, like the spell of time. I think what we're going to finally say, like we've been decoding with the time stuff for about a year now. And it goes deeper in, if you watch my channel, you'll see, I mean, time as a manipulative aspect of keeping us into certain enslaved environments of the mind. It's key. It's, you know, it's key for those that would be putting the time spells on top of us to want to stifle our creativity, even such that over the course of some cycles, some periods, we would better ourselves and get it instead of getting stuck in these ruts. It's all very sophisticated trap, like Stockholm syndrome.
Yes,
you get identified. You identify so much with your routine and your schedule and your comfort zone.
Your value. Just the fact that our whole society values themselves in their job. Like, hey, hi, I'm Lisa. What do you do? What do you do? Not who are you, your ideas, whatever. And I guess with AI coming along and taking away a lot of jobs, it's going to leave a lot of people wondering who they are. Which could be a good thing because
it's a necessary thing.
Yourself.
You know, it'll be a terrible thing for the people that can't hack it because they'll just expire. However they do. Well, I mean, you know,
yeah.
I'm just swimming in the soup of other people's anxieties, and I've got my own anxieties right now with life, and it's tough. It's really fucking tough. Even though, you know, this is the aspect, like I said, of it's happening. The spell is breaking. What does it really mean for us? And are people really going to get out of their religious doctrines to approach what needs to be approached and solve this? because you have to acknowledge the space alien component. The mind control component, I think, again, is really what we're going to get into. And like that's the bitch of it that gets me too, is okay, we can recognize we have this subliminal programming that's very deep across the entirety of the planet. And how do you do the algebra to work it out, to decode, to defrag it from your own mind? And it goes so deep. How do you know that you're not being tricked along the way with the decoding process? It's very exhausting, but hopefully
I guess
these efforts of Vsteg are not in vain by the end of it. Hopefully, I think at least it should, in my eyes, provide, with the track record we've established with it already, somewhat of a lens as to what.
Well, what I hope is that people see the pattern recognition and then doing their own steg, for lack of a better term, but whatever it is that unpacks it for you, whatever that key is for you that makes you trust yourself and know when you hear there's a there, and then you go dig into it and start seeing all the
well, remember that's more qualia, I think, than steganography in and of itself. Just to re-clarify for people why I say that is because, qualia is those things that, the guiding aspects of life being lived.
Yeah, I think those are more confirmations, not like always the puzzle for me.
Well, right. And I mean, steganography very purposefully is placed into view. That's the whole point of the encoding of it. It's, if you go even just look at what steganography is from a software programming perspective, software programmers use steganography to embed watermarks in actual images, for instance, that you can't see with the naked eye. You have to pick up the metadata of the file in order to see the inconsistency. Here's another aspect of steganography, Lisa. Let's talk forgeries, right? Counterfeits. Okay. So this will lead us into our topics actually today. This will actually help us get back on course, because the forgeries that I'd like to reference are the Kennedy bonds with the NASA program on the back of them. Have you ever seen these?
No, but the bond issue is huge right now. Of course,
right. So
Jim Willey was telling us years ago that that's what would break the system, and now you're seeing 107 talk about it. You're seeing lots of people talking about the bond markets and all of those changes.
Yeah, I think what I might have to do is pull up Yandex to find an image, because Google's not going to do it for us. Just a second. No thanks. Here we go.
So just while you're looking for that, I was listening to a video today with Sheila Holmes, and I can't remember the guy she was on, but anyway, and she was talking about they're having some meeting meetup this weekend, I think in Florida, with some guy named Mel or something. And then 107 is going to be there. But this weekend is more talking about healing stuff and whatever. And then when he does his event in Vegas, that's going to focus on fraud and these bonds. And technically the school bonds are the biggest frauds, because we
can talk about the school bonds again if you'd like. We discussed it a little bit on this channel before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I know all about it.
The only ones that break, but
I can tell you exactly what's happening with the bond fraud. There you go. I just uploaded the image though. Let's start here.
Okay.
So here's some bond fraud for you. You don't know what this is. You've never seen this. This is new. This is a new image to you.
True.
Okay. Well, let's walk through this, Lisa. So, this is steganography. That's what I'm saying. Steganography, I want people to realize it's encoded in your environment, so you don't see it, but you do see it subliminally. Otherwise, it won't have an effect, right? It doesn't have. It's conveying a message beyond the understanding of the average onlooker. So what this is what do you see on the surface of this? What is it? What is denominated as the value of this note? Up in the upper right-hand corner.
$1 billion.
$1 billion.
Oh, is that $1 billion?
$1 billion note.
I should put my glasses on.
Okay.
Okay, yes.
Look at what it's a commemorative 1 billion on the back.
Oh yeah.
These started to get issued. If you look and you zoomed in, it was series 1969.
Oh, okay.
Right on the face of this. Okay. So they started printing these. You see the space shuttle on the back of this with the lunar lander and the moon, and you've got like a holographic seal. And there was a big to do in the 80s, I think it was, Lisa, some mid 80s, right in the thick of things with the Wall Street financial malfeasance and digital money coming into existence. This predated the passage of those digital dollars in denominated bond form. So each one of these notes is worth $1 billion, essentially off books, because what was determined was that a whole suitcase of these things was commandeered at an airport. I'll have to go look at the story again because it's a buried story that I'm very fuzzy on the details with, because in my report of this, I was investigating some things Joseph Farrell had written in one of his books. It's actually very well documented in one of his books. That's probably the best source to go look up this topic, and is some speculation on what the hell was happening with this. So think about before digital money can transfer on, an open market, you still have to pass value in the dark projects to build your Area 51s, to start your government space programs, to do all of that, right? If you notice, these things are sealed with red, just like the silver certificates were. These things are backed. These things are backed bonds, Lisa, is what the presumption is on these because of the hallmarks of the note itself. And obviously on the back, the program that they're broadcasting here is the public space shuttle program on the back. There's a lot being said here. The steganography of it is, in my opinion, as I've interpreted this, is all the fake shit that they're telling us NASA's all about is on the back of this note. The lunar lander, horseshit story. Our space shuttle program somehow can't go back to the moon. All this stuff that has been a fabricated lie through NASA through the 70s. There's this weird blank period with NASA during the 70s and into the 80s where people are wondering like where the funding went, for one.
Right.
A lot of it's getting funneled, reorchestrated. Remember, Nixon took the gold standard away. But back to the story of when these got commandeered. Remember, a suitcase of these was found. These were just claimed to be counterfeit. Okay? That was the story. It was swept under the rug. That was the accepted narrative. But you're a smart woman. There's an inconsistency just with accepting that story, right? Like, it's counterfeit.
It says, so I looked into this on Grok, and it's what you're talking about, the piece of it that you're talking, it gives a lot of
there we go. Okay.
Interesting information. But this is 2009 Chiasso smuggling incidents. Italian authorities seized what appeared to be 134 billion in fake U.S. bonds from two men, including alleged Kennedy bonds in billion-dollar denominations. These were widely reported as counterfeits. No evidence of genuine billion-dollar Kennedy bonds exist in the legitimate U.S. Treasury history.
Okay, but ask Grok then, counterfeits of what?
Oh, great point.
If there isn't an original article, what can it be a counterfeit of? And that's where this story just has so many loose ends to it, Lisa, where you start asking that question. And there's your steganography even deeper than that, right? Like, what the fuck?
Okay. So what are the bonds counterfeits of? And it's, oh God, Lord, it's going. It's very worried and putting lots of information. Let's see what appeared to be they were presented. They were presented as 1 billion, blah, blah, blah. The forgers implied these were legitimate, but in reality, no such thing as Kennedy bonds have ever existed. The highest
Ask it then, in order for it to be a counterfeit, there must be a genuine article of some variety somewhere, correct? Some sort of phrasing like that.
Okay, so
This is
US
where the
Treasury
AI
describes them. So this is how the counterfeits were made. The U.S. Treasury described them as poor to mediocre fakes, often created by using photo editing software to alter images of real, smaller.
It doesn't answer the core question. You see, it just dances around it.
Well,
It doesn't answer the core question unless it can answer what they are counterfeits of. It doesn't matter how they were made. It still infers that they're real ones too.
So they're saying that the real ones are ones that are smaller securities, something like $100 bill. And then
sure, of course,
the denomination to billions or millions.
And we'll believe that story, right? That makes a lot of sense. It goes from $1 billion down to 100 in denominated face value. Okay.
It's very interesting.
The thing is I think these are your silver certificates, Lisa. I think these are your $1 billion silver certificate notes. And it all went down to,
so if that is true,
systems. And this all got funneled. These bonds don't exist anymore, but they were once a legitimate form of passing that value. Because it's all digitized now. Remember, we're talking 40 years ago with these.
Okay, so let me tell you a little bit of this backstory because I think this could be part of it. So originally, John Kennedy, the little guy with all the funny sayings, he's been actively pushing for the return of unredeemed U.S. Treasury savings bond worth tens of billions of dollars, tens of billions to American citizens. In recent Senate floor speeches, including one in December 25, he highlighted that at the Treasury Department, it holds roughly 100 million mature, unredeemed savings bonds with a total value of about 36.27 billion. These are older saving bonds that people have forgotten about, lost track of, or never redeemed. The money belongs to the public, but sits with the federal government, which no longer pays interest on any of them. Kennedy has...
Well, why would they? They're redeemable in silver. If that theory pans out,
then they wouldn't be paying interest in them. That's a good point. But this is very interesting that could nod to these efforts, and then the value is in the billions and owed back to the people. And we've been buying bad debt.
The technology that's been built
years
owed back to us, or the technology that's been built with its expenditure is owed back to us in some form or fashion.
Well, that's the same thing. So they were talking about how, like in California specifically, these bonds go and all we the people pay for the bond, and then something like the Olympics, those little cities are built or whatever, or like they made like a whole snow world for the Olympics. I can't remember what it's called, Swan, or I don't know, some kind of city. Yep. And then after it was over, the Olympics were over, it was gifted to Newsom's uncle. Why in the world would a city or entity, a creation, a building, whatever, infrastructure that was paid for by the American people's dollars through bonds then be gifted privately to someone?
Because the bond structure has an ownership group. It's owned out of a sophisticated family office. The bonds have an issuer, and the issuer has a customer who buys the bond from them for an arbitrage fee. So Newsom probably bought the majority share of the bonds so that he had ownership over that project. Remember how this works, Lisa? Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's step by step how the property fraud is extolled on the populace across the country. We have two things happening.
Okay.
We have the school districts eating up all the tax funds, and I'll review for people how that is. The school districts are gobbling up all of the property taxes,
but they're not using it in the correct way, and now it's gone.
No, It's being,
That's what they're
that
saying.
money is being, and that money that's being collected by the school district, step 2, is not being used by the school district, like you just said. It's being funneled off books in secondary mechanisms and special purpose vehicles that essentially end up in places like Ukraine and supporting the Somalis destroy our country from within and all of that kind of shit. So here's what's gone on, though, and how it's gotten to this point. How property tax is assessed on a home is based pretty much solely on its value these days. And its value is established by an appraiser.
Or the county assessor.
But the county assessor essentially has to act as an appraiser in order to do that. The county assessor, the appraiser, whoever the authority is that establishes the value of the home, has to do so based on comps, is what they say.
Yeah.
Comparables.
Yep.
This is not how things happened in the COVID era. You had a bunch of people, remember everybody, we had $5 trillion injected into the system in a month. Most of that money went to people that were very impressionable, very corruptible, very incentivized to fuck you over to better themselves. And those people were, in a lot of ways, involved in these appraisal offices. So a bunch of lobbyists with a bunch of direct injected money printed in the Biden administration in their hand, a bunch of lobbyists went to appraisers all across every real estate market you can imagine. And they said, pump up the value of homes. Here's a bunch of money. Do it, and do it indiscriminately. Pump up the value of homes so that we could raise the property taxes and we can funnel all of the money that we're printing to all of these areas of malfeasance that we need to support. This was the game they set up. I mean,
that was kind of what they did with the USAID as well.
Well, USAID was one of the functionaries that allowed this to happen, right? They were pre-existent, right? They were already this NGO kind of thing that started in the 90s, where it wasn't the amalgam that it was where it turned into in the Biden administration. But yeah, these were the functionary vehicles that the money was passed through in order to launder it. It was just a big money laundering campaign. So here's the aftermath of it, though. You have of home value. Everyone in the country now has a home value that it was already inflated to begin with pre-COVID, right. But now it's doubled in value, doubled in appraised value, but it's not worth this.
Right.
And so all that value is going to come right out of it immediately as we're seeing now, and then some, and then some.
Mm-hmm. But it allows for during that time them to be able to charge higher taxes, is what you're talking about.
Well, they're not going to be able to charge higher taxes anymore once the prices plummet too. They're not going to be able to. They're not going to be able to fraudulently appraise these houses when nobody's buying them. That was what they could do before. People were able to afford the wackadoodle appraisals because they too got a bunch of injected money. The economy got $5 trillion, so your average Joe Schmo was able to do that. They loosened all the requirements on FHA. They allowed your average little normie to come in and get into subprime trouble because everything. Yeah. So, appraised values are going down. And one of the knock-on effects of this is school districts have no chance. They will have no more funding after this, because what little funding they did get, they scraped off the bottom before they laundered it all through. And that's what keeps the schools going. But there's no hope for the public school system after this, unless it gets in a local community, unless, a philanthropist comes up and they're like, hey, I will fund my local school to keep functioning, but it's not going to be part of a bigger statewide whole anymore, probably in any state. Is what I got to believe.
Well, and once the fraud is exposed for, the corruption, that the money went into the bond and that it was misused, if there's clawbacks at all, if it's possible, then that would fail and would fail the school in turn, I would think. But it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out for sure.
Yeah. There are 3 different states now where it's at the Supreme Court level, and it looks as if the ruling is going to be in favor of fraud.
Yeah.
So hold on to your seats.
Lots of big things. But back to our tie-in with NASA and Artemis, of course, yesterday.
Yeah, this
Artemis launch.
Yeah.
And it was also a full moon, a full pink moon at almost the same time. The Artemis, I think, launched at 6:30, and the full pink moon was primed at a couple hours later to be in prime position. So that's interesting. And then I had run some things through and looked on some stuff, and they were saying like the conspiracies around all that is that these launches are actually like kind of a sacrifice or a notice to the gods, and kind of playing into all of that stuff. So it's quite interesting. And then I have a great video to share with you about that.
I have a more simplistic theory than all of, the appeasing of the gods. And I think we're at war with the gods. Some of the ritual still is in place for the kayfabe of it, because the sorcery matters to their ritual. Like think about how the rabbis think. They're the ones that worship the Elohim, and they have to do everything ritualistically. They have to do everything systematically. They have to do things in order, and that's the only way. They have to make a template. And but what's happening pretty plainly is what I see, Lisa, is you have Aryans fighting the ancient haplogroup that is not Jews but call themselves Jews today.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Okay, you have. I've said this for a long time. If you look at my work going back before 2020, even I said, there's no effing way. You look at the end of World War II's result, and you see the vacated amount of technology that's just gone because the Germans that decided to leave the war took it somewhere else. And then you look at the series of events in just the years right post the war, there's no other logical conclusion you can draw other than those pesky Germans, they're out there somewhere with very advanced technology. Where the hell did they go?
Maybe through the plasma.
And it's not like they didn't keep advancing said technology even further.
Right.
These are engineers at heart. They have a mind for.
Well, and remember when all the patents came out through the U.S. Postal Service? Gosh, was that pre-COVID or right around there? Something like 60,000 patents or something were released. And on the interview with Sheila, she said that some of those are finally going to be released to the public. And we've all heard the medbed thing and all this, but they're even talking about like anti-gravity kind of vehicles, which I don't know if you've ever seen. I thought it was fake at first, but then if you look at it, if it's done with magnets, it's kind of like a egg or circle shaped thing, almost like a motorcycle. And because of the magnets, and they have those mag trains or mag lift trains or whatever that are supposed to lift off the ground to allow for, no friction. And
Ken Wheeler, somebody people can look up. Theoria Apophasis, I think, is his YouTube channel. He's talked about this exotic propulsion for years because he studies ancient Greek, and he reverse engineered how to think about this stuff just from the ancient Greek that he's able to read and decode, and
interesting.
It's all the spherical objects specifically are exactly as you described. You can create a force vector that comes off one of them and pushes it this way. And it's all about increasing magnetic gain against whatever the environment is, the atmosphere that it's
well, and through the years we've seen and heard, the engine that runs on water, all those kind of things. But then something happens to these guys. And now we've had this, it's not McFadden. What is the name of the guy that's missing from Diego Garcia, that he used to be the supervisor of all the crash site stuff, and all that general is missing. But so let me play this video really quick, and then we'll jump into, because this kind of goes into our we're not suicidal.
This an absolutely wild story at a time when we could be on the verge of some kind of disclosure about alien life and UFOs from the White House. They've said this. 4 people who worked in government programs and knew a whole lot about that topic have either vanished or have been murdered. The first was retired General William Neal McCasland, who had ties to UFO programs in the government. He disappeared suddenly from his home in New Mexico in February. He left his phone, his glasses, and his watch at home. He also worked at an Air Force base that reportedly held the debris from the Roswell, New Mexico crash in the 1940s. Then it was Monica Reza, a former NASA engineer who worked directly under General McCasland on advanced propulsion engines. She vanished while hiking in California last June with friends who say they have no idea what happened. Then it was Nuro Lareo, the director of plasma science at MIT. He was murdered in his home in Boston in December. And then it was Carl Grillmar, a Caltech astrophysicist who discovered water on another planet where there may have been life. Carl was murdered randomly in his home last month. Our next guest says this was not a coincidence.
Everybody's
you want to bet that planet was Mars?
There's just too many of them disappearing, Benny. I'm just like, nothing happens by coincidence in this town or around this town.
Tennessee Congressman Tim Burchett is joining us. He's also a member of the Oversight and Foreign Affairs Committee. Congressman, good to see you. What do you think's going on here?
Well, I don't know exactly. I just know there are no coincidences in this town. These folks have disappeared or died mysteriously, and there's the only thing that ties them together is the fact that they worked on things that are dealing with outer space, whether it's UFOs or nuclear secrets or missiles or what have you. But I think we need full disclosure. When I'm in a meeting, in a closed door meeting, and I asked about the president's points on these, and then I'm told by some arrogant, unelected bureaucrat that the president is on a need-to-know basis. I think that says everything that needs to be said about what's going on. I think there's an arrogance, there's an underlying, and I talked to the president about this. I said, it's just layers of the onion, Mr. President. You peel one off, and there's another one underneath. You put your top people in, and it's just too much to clear out in 4 years. And it's just, we've got a real problem, I think, in this area. And I think you've got some arrogance. When I sit in a meeting and some little punk with a man bun is sort of running the show, and you have decorated military officers in the meeting there that are basically unallowed to say anything, and you can read their faces what's going on.
Well, General McCasland, he was not a minor player at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. He was there for more than 35 years. At one point, he was the top guy at that base, and he just disappears. His family has no idea what happened. Do you think the cases are connected, or do you think this is just some absolutely wild coincidence because all 4 of these people are also connected in some way?
Yeah, I think some of them could be a domestic issue, but I think overall, I think there is a connection there.
Okay,
and
so you do think this is a conspiracy?
I don't think we're ever going to know, because it'll come out, and it gives enough time for the trail to go. It's like when a kid in Washington, D.C. gets, they find him dead, and they claim that he was mugged, yet his watch and wallet and he's got cash on him are not taken. But that's just the story that's put out, and that's what we believe. So I just do not believe this is by coincidence.
And people just do not disappear. And the connections between all 4 of these people.
Not in this day and age. No, so you've got to have some real inside type of operation.
Okay, I want to play you a soundbite. Former colleague of yours, Matt Gaetz, making some pretty shocking statements yesterday about.
You hear what he just said, Lisa? I think he betrayed like what I think about the story too. You've got to be a part of some real inside operation. That's what he said right there at the end, right? So before Benny gets in on this, is that Benny that you put up there?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is also steganography in a lot of ways. It's messaging. It's conveying purposefully what you might need to see is missing from the equation. And I challenge people to think this way about these stories because it matters for the motive involved. People have a tendency to jump to a conclusion with a story like this. And I got to believe, like, if you check a comment section on the video on YouTube there, people are like, they're definitely dead. Whoever took them needed to silence them. Who was it that took them to silence them and all this shit, right? Like, that's the typical response you see on these anyway, correct? But, like, I don't know, humor me. Like, let's look at the comments. Like, what are people saying on this?
We need to protect
missing children from border.
Yeah.
It's not even including all the missing people. This man is one of the few, I believe.
We haven't got into the part about why they're missing.
So that's like the missing 411 and all that shit.
So here's why they believe they're missing.
I had someone come and brief
Well, they
me
are
who was
missing.
in a
Like that-
military
okay,
uniform,
like,
worked for the United
hold on,
States Army,
hold on.
that was briefing me on the locations of hybrid breeding programs where captured aliens were breeding with humans.
This is right.
create
Hold
a
on.
hybrid
Before we
race
get into
that
this,
could engage-
please, just humor me. I knew we were going to get into some crazy shit. I want to have a clean palette getting it before we get Matt Geit's take on it. Because he's starting to talk about hybrid alien breeding programs and all this shit that just like, it's one of those things that whips people up. And I want people to perhaps take a different tact with a story like this. Maybe consider that they are missing, but they might be missing for a purpose that's not because they were snatched up and executed somewhere. Okay. Think again about motive, because that's the jump to conclusion that people will take with a story like this, is that whoever their captors are up to no good. But what if the fact remains here? They all worked together in some capacity before. That's the through line that I caught. What if they were taken by an agency that needs all of them to collaborate together to solve a problem? And it also solves a problem of disclosure that maybe this agency wants, because it now there's now this big empty space out there where people are asking questions. Well, they're missing. What could it mean?
I would agree with you if it was just people like General McCaslin missing, but when there are over 800,000 children missing every year.
Well, we know why the children happen. We know why the children happen. That's a harvesting campaign.
Right.
I think
but
they're different.
May be just humans harvesting them.
Yeah, but I would say that this doesn't serve, if you look at the motives of a person, if you argue that the captor of scientists like this would have a motive to kill them, it doesn't serve their interests very well to have a publicity story like this circulating around Twitter and shit. It doesn't. They want to keep this shit secret. That's why we didn't know about the 800,000 missing children for 40 fucking years, because the propaganda around it was so strong.
But that's why we're at a different place now. Now it's the revealing of all that's gone on in the past.
Right. But I think I would argue that these scientists they might be alive. I might argue that the likelihood that they're alive and collaborating together on something because it's necessary carries with it, or, a possibility that I'm willing to entertain more than they're held captive by whoever it's inconvenient for them to, be discovering technology and shit in behest of, because those people, again, are not going to want a publicity story like this. And they're smart enough to probably not take all of them in quick succession. It's what I argue about the MH370 event too, the Malaysian Airlines.
Yeah.
I think those people all got taken away, maybe not for something as nefarious as everybody assumes, because it doesn't serve the interests very well of the people who would try to silence them, because immediately the flight manifest came out even back then. And it's like, why were all these, it's
all scientists escaping with U.S. Technology to try to take it to China was the storyline.
Yeah. Right. And so in order to protect that, see, there's so many dynamics at play here. Before we get into, Matt Geitz and the hybrid alien stuff, I just wanted to voice that for people, because I think there's probably a very parsimonious explanation for events that are happening like this. And they are curious, and they are mysterious, and they do matter. They do matter, but how do they matter? I think we should examine all the angles of that, right? Before.
I just think it's more of the exposure and trying to, meet people kind of where they are, and talking about the soft release of what is an alien.
Mm-hmm.
Like
it
when
gets the public all propped up.
What does that mean? So yeah, it's just an unpacking, and I guess it takes some pretty dramatic stories in that. But
in intergalactic communication, aliens that were living were in forced breeding programs with humans that had been abducted from war zones and from even the caravans of migrants.
All right. I mean, I don't have the tinfoil hat on just yet, Congressman, but I'm wondering, kind of how you react to that, because you are connected. You're on the UFO subcommittee. I mean, I'm just wondering what you make of that. Have you heard anything like that?
Well, I'm still a member of Congress, so I can't really comment too much on what Matt said. But I will say this.
Wait, seriously? Are you being serious, or is that
I'm being 100% serious? Okay. I've been 100% serious. I've been briefed by just about every alphabet agency there is. And I'll just tell you this, if they would release the things that I've seen, you would stay up, you'd be up at night worrying about or thinking about this stuff. We just need to disclose it all. I'm sick of it. Well, I was briefed. I'll just tell you this. I was briefed last week on an issue, or excuse me, 2 weeks ago. And it would have set the earth off. This country would have come unglued, I think, if they would have heard all that I heard. They would demand answers, and we need to. But it's never going to get. Unfortunately, it just keeps getting covered up, and the people that know are dying or disappearing, as the case may be.
Wow.
And for the record, I'm not suicidal, and I don't take risks.
I do think it's a disclosure coming, and that's what they're starting.
Yeah, this is all teeing up for it, though. This is all very purposefully planned. Like, they put that guy in that seat to be all reticent, but well, if I'm troubled by this, if you knew what I knew, you'd stay up at night. It's a setup. It's the setup of the emotional impact, and yeah, we're gonna have it, but people need all of this fucking trapping. Unfortunately, I think they do. I think it makes it palatable somehow if there's drama associated where they can episodically uncover it, and it will probably save their lives to do it this way. Is why it's being engineered in this fashion, truly, because it's too much for most to take. Too many people that are inculcated into any religion, whatever it may be, won't be able to take what's coming unless it's served up a little bit with this narrative associated with it,
Yeah.
But yesterday, I think, was a nice little test run of that. Like that blends nicely to get, again, back to the Artemis missions. It's no secret to anybody that was on the internet yesterday that there was a rocket launch, the Artemis 2 rocket, and conveniently placed on April Fool's Day. Mm-hmm. I think also, Lisa, things like this are very purposefully, they're tests of the water of the people in charge of that narrative to see the reaction that the internet has, to see how much of the bullshit they're actually seeing through. It's a litmus test to how well they're doing with the disclosure process, right? Mm-hmm. I think people miss the point of things like what happened yesterday, because it just comes out of nowhere. It's not really, it doesn't really have a big announcement. It's like, oh, well, the conditions are right. We're launching today, It's okay. All right. And it wasn't exactly like that. There was like a couple of days advance notice, but this is how they do it. Like, well, it was so favorable. We had to do it. We had to do it. We were going to miss the window to get it to the moon, to do the slingshot maneuver. We had to do it, Mm-hmm. And it's all a bunch of hooey. And people are now seeing through it. That happened on April Fool's Day. They're now associating these key ritual events, how they're conveyed with the bullshit artist spectrum of things. And so I think the people in charge of that narrative, I hesitate to call them the Templars, because I don't know what guys they take on these days.
Right.
But our ancient Templar buddies are true fighters of the goddess, because that'll factor in this whole goddess worship thing with the Cathars and the Templars. This factors in the rituals of Artemis itself. Okay. Which is interesting. We can get to that.
Sister of Apollo.
Well, right, but context. You have this whole narrative from the beginning. Remember when they did the whole Katy Perry and the women in the fucking Blue Origin thing? We did a show on that, in fact. But I think I must have. I probably couldn't have helped myself if I know myself well enough to have mentioned at least the Artemis moon mission plans from back in 2018.
Okay.
when they were planning to land the first woman on the moon. That was the whole narrative. And the articles that I had in my archive conveniently don't work. Link's broken, all these plans to land a woman on the moon. But I had a whole video series that I put some links in your description box.
Yeah. You want me to do the first one
for people, whatever.
Let's see here.
But there's like 3 or 4 videos I did.
Okay.
Back in 2020 that describe the clear driving force of this collective in the shadows that's trying to reignite the feminine and take it back from the bastardization that it's been under, the spell it's been under, with this other faction that's been in charge.
It makes sense with all the trans stuff.
Right.
Because that is like another name stealer of women.
And that's what Ozma was all about in our little book too. That was actually
right.
It's part of that whole thing. It's like the reinvigoration of the goddess. And so we'll get into that next week, guys. We'll keep decoding the Oz book, but this NASA stuff came up this week. But if you look up, do me a favor and look up the NASA. There it is. Look at this.
Okay. There you go.
Artemis, so this is planned for 2024 to land a woman on the moon. This was the year that Trump was campaigning, remember, to become president. And these things came back up. I did some more decodes related to this back then. But if you look up the Artemis logo, Lisa.
Okay. Let me see what I can find.
It's a lambda with a river of menstrual blood.
Oh, dear
going
God.
Through it. Oh, I'm not kidding you.
Yeah. And of course, the Smithsonian is the one sharing.
So you see the moon, which controls the menstrual cycle, has the blood tether to the earth through the underneath the lambda. I mean, this is so like
in your face.
Classic Vsteg, right on the nose. It's not even funny. Like that's what this is. There's a hijacking of the mind, which is what the lambda is, that they're hijacking the wavelengths of the manipulative frequencies.
And that goes to, when we were talking about time earlier, that we really are in, if we went by the moon, we would have 13 months and
28-day cycles.
28-day cycles, yeah. No leap year, all of those kinds of things.
Yeah, that's all part of throwing you out of phase and your circadian rhythm's all off because you're not, it's a month for a reason.
Yeah.
1 month is 28 days. 1 month, moon day is Monday. It starts off with the fresh day of the cycle. You have all of this encoded in your language. You just, you have all
and David Straight always talked about, what is sept? Well, that means 7.
September should be the 7th month. October should be the 8th month.
Should be the 8th month. November is like Nueve 9. Dec is 10. And then we're missing, because we're missing a whole month. It actually, April 1st is supposed to be the new year, the first day of the new year. If we had 13 months and 28 days in each of those. So happy New Year, everyone.
Well, and it's August and July, they're inserted to throw you off. Do you know why?
Tell me.
There's etymology here. July and August. Those are both of the Caesars, Julius and Augustus.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
This is all part of, again, this is your Anatoly Fomenko who fucked with history lesson. That's all part of, the insertion of Roman history into things. And in order to throw you off further, naming those 2 months after but it's also steganography.
Yeah.
Do you see how it's very, which is, different than the qualia that befalls on you. But yeah, Julius and Augustus Caesar. 7th and the 8th month. That's what throws it off. That's why everything's off by 2 months after that.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So we have Artemis 2. Artemis 1 already went off. It's all about furthering the control spectrum of the Venusian goddess. Templars
there's another video they can watch on your channel as well about Saturn.
Yep.
This is all, if you guys go to this V Cipher community, you see it in the bottom left there. That's where you can find all of Ben's videos, and you can do a search and try to find, use code words and whatever and keywords. And
Saturn is Chronos, chronology.
Right.
Templars worship Venus, though. This is a good book that is really core to some findings in the research. It's called America, the Nation of the Goddess, the Venus Families, and the Founding of the United States. And it really goes to show you really what the founding fathers really were about. No, they weren't your classical Christians. They were more your ancient Christians.
Okay.
Your Templar Cathars. Which is why a lot of, pardon?
Part of the conversation yesterday with the Supreme Court hearing on birthright citizenship is if parents, you're just saying if parents come here, but if parents come, then whose domicile do you acknowledge? And that's where when we go back to like I think there's this big piece that is the Indian, the Native American, and they talked about naturalizing them after this one law went through and all this.
They did this very carefully with the Mandaean culture in the Dakotas. The Templars, they created, here's truly what the Templars would very carefully crossbreed. They didn't take it like Hitler would say and say, no race mixing, and that's actually not really what Hitler thought either. But as everybody believes, as pictured in history, people see Hitler as like this no race mixing, and there's a certain degree of wisdom that goes along with that. Honestly, we've discussed that here, where you lose the adaptation of your haplogroup. That selective breeding has taken many generations to create strengths around. You start to lose and degrade that if you just fuck it all up and say, throw caution to the wind, I'm going to go, whatever. You don't know what you're mixing with. Like just when you breed dogs together of different varieties, you have no idea the health ailments that are going to come, and there are plenty. So that's reason number one. It's just not very wise to not think through that aspect of it. But the way the Templars, as I understand it, used to think about this, because when they came to the Americas, they had a spiritual understanding. They wanted to meld with the place. They didn't want to take it over or conquer it, but they did want to revive it because it was ancient Tartaria. It was their kingdom of their ancestors. They had motive to come here. It's not like they wanted to conquer the natives, but there were now natives living here. Mandaeans were big giants, like 10 feet tall, lived in the Dakotas.
Those are in their stories and in Native American culture that talking about the giants killing. That's part of the reason they up in the not the Pueblos. What are those? In the mountains and the sides of the mountains and stuff, because they were hiding from the giants.
Well, those were different giants. Those were like your Nephilim.
Okay.
And those were truly gigantors. Like they were. There's a lot of giant history to dig into within the Americas.
Talking more about, so Sean had told me there's like actual stories or whatever about just really big men, giant.
Yeah. Of course. Yeah. They were all over Russia. The Mandaeans were an entire culture of this. Lewis and Clark interfaced with them on their journeys. These parts of Meriwether Lewis's journals are missing famously. Like a whole 6-month period where they're holed up for a winter with the Mandaeans. Yeah. And the Mandaeans by that point in time had already brought knowledge forward from the Templars, because this is what the Templars would, they would find a strong stock that they said, it would be advantageous to crossbreed. But before we do, we want to make sure we mix with them in ideas and shit. Before we go mixing with them with sexual activity, make sure we vibe with these people and make sure we can create a solid foundation around everything and make sure that we can, do this right. I want to bring knowledge to the table. I want to learn if they have knowledge to give me. And we want to create that bond first, right? And then once the honor system and merit was all established, they'd say, we can vibe. Let's set somebody up together and marry him off, and boom. So, you have a lot of this ancient idea from Tartaria, from the way things used to be, that were carried forward back to the Americas here to reestablish the new kingdom. They did call it New Jerusalem too, by the way. I mean, it's not a Judaic term or anything. I mean, that's what the Templars used.
Wow.
Because they were archaeologists at the core, and they knew the ancient past, and they knew the history therein, and the real history, not specifically what's in the Bible, but
yeah.
Anyway, we have them as our core foundation for the founding fathers. It's that stock that the founding fathers came from. It's no surprise that you have a nation founded on these principles, and why Masonry seeps into it too. Masonry as a concept isn't anything but realizing mathematics in a divine sense, okay. how it applies to things.
Mm-hmm. It's what you do with it, I guess.
Well,
it's like a tool.
Yeah, it's the practice of all of it that becomes suspect when you get the Jewish magic and Kabbalah over the top of it, bastardized. It's all ancient Hermeticism from Egypt. It's just how you use it. It's you use it in this sorcery way, or do you use it in this, and that is the thing about the Wizard of Oz from Oz, is he has pure-ish intent. He's a human, Yeah. He's imperfect in his intent, but he's not evil in his intent either. He's justified, he thinks, in how he acts. But he does it immaturely and imperfectly. But it's that striving. It's like Luke Skywalker learning under Yoda, where he stumbles through it. Like you can see the greatness underneath it, but there's work still to be done. But anyway, back to wrapping this back, kind of how people are seeing events like April Fools and Oz. I do think it's interesting that, don't you agree with me that like just in a year's time, where we have people just calling bullshit on bullshit, people you would have never thought would call bullshit on bullshit about an April Fool's joke, about a rocket maybe or maybe not launching.
Well, now there's all these videos coming out that like, an airline stewardess saw it out of the window. And
I saw that thing. There's no fucking way that was in the rocket trajectory. Did you see it? They were at 30,000 feet and it was already leveling off. Don't tell me that was a fucking rocket. You got several tens of thousands more feet to go straight up into orbit if you're actually going to obtain terminal velocity and escape.
Yeah.
I saw that photo. That was such bullshit. I mean, you know what I'm saying, right? With the angle of departure on the on the trajectory of that object.
No, they don't have it pulled up or anything, so I can't share it. But it
looks more like a ballistic missile than anything. It might have been stewardess catches ballistic missile seconds before interception.
It might have been. So crazy. Well, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. I'm excited that we got into the bond thing because that was something I didn't know about, those Kennedy bonds. And then to hear that Goofy Kennedy, I can't remember his name, is currently or was in December just talking about, hey, there's literally $36 billion that should be released to we the people. And no one hears about that. But we're all watching the Artemis go around the moon.
And if it's 36 billion actual US constitutional dollars backed in silver.
Yeah.
I think that's what he means.
I think you're right.
Which means it's not the inflated Federal Reserve. $36 billion actually is a lot of money again when you consider that. $36 billion, you just like throw your hand at it nowadays, but it's in its actual constitutional dollar value amount, 36 billion.
I can't even imagine.
How many ounces of silver is that? Like, what's the rough math? Backed in silver.
I don't know. I'm doing the math on that.
Silver, just let's use silver in terms of 1964 when they stopped making the coinage. An ounce of silver was worth about $1. So it's good representation. It was like the last time an ounce of silver was like $1. So that's easy math. That's 36 billion ounces. And 36 billion ounces times $1,000 per ounce, let's say.
Cliff did share something where they're talking about that they're already buying futures for December at $900 to $1,000 an ounce for this year.
Oh yeah, I know. For December, the futures contracts for delivery
for this year.
For the end of the year, I was hearing that $800, and they're being sold. Like it's not like they're just sitting on the market with an ask and no one's hitting the buy button.
No, it's active.
It's getting purchased. So $36 billion times 1,000. Wait, let me just do this right. 36 million. 36 billion times.
Because in your mind, you're saying each one of those bonds should be backed by an ounce of silver. And that's where you're getting this justification for where is that silver and then what it's worth now.
Well, it's backed by an ounce of silver because the Constitution says 375 grams of silver is $1.
Okay.
That's my assumption, and that's my base case assumption for just this rough math, because if you're going back to US money as defined by the Constitution, 375 grams of silver is $1. So
it does say depending on the date of the bond.
$36 trillion is the amount that you get, which is the US debt.
Well, there you go.
So there you go. It's
I'm sure it's a
$1 billion in constitutional money is your actual debt figure as backed by silver.
Ben, it's a coincidence, I'm sure.
Well, I look at everybody. It's also no coincidence that there's some steganography involved on TV. If you want to go watch Apple TV's For All Mankind series,
this is on my list.
Season 5 started this week too, right on the heels of all this Artemis moon mission stuff. And to me, that's always been steganography that's conveying more likely what our space program has been, unbeknownst to us. Collaborations with other nations to probably get to Mars. And NASA, curiously, in this show, the letter A in NASA is a delta, not a lambda. If you notice, the official NASA logo, as we see it, our official NASA logo.
Yeah, it doesn't have
the letter A's are lambdas, meaning what? They're lying to you. That's the signal that it's fucking fake because it's got a lambda there. They're mind controlling you with the lambda, just like Clockwork Orange. So the fact that the fake fiction version on Apple TV has deltas instead of lambdas has always been, to me, this is more of a script of what actually occurred.
It's a double delta too. It's like a 5x5 because look at the A and the A. So for all mankind, there's double deltas.
Just like
delta is like this is the delta. That's a calm. It means it's
I've gone over all that. Exactly. All that stuff has been in my work also. And there's an other on the moon, whether it's the Selenites, whether it's the Germans, we don't know yet.
Demons.
But the show only explores it like once a season. It like infers that there's like, ooh, this other that's out there as we're putting bases on the moon and Mars, and it's this big public affair.
Well, now I have a new series. I just finished my documentary on Trump's mother, which little tidbit for all you that watch me or have watched me for years, you know that I know there's something going on with the post office. Guess what Donald Trump's mom's dad, so Donald Trump's grandfather, guess what he was? A postmaster general.
Postmaster general, huh? Okay.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's amazing. Thank you for jumping to all this, because I really felt like we needed to talk about Artemis and these things going on, the bonds, and of course, you know, the aliens. So
probably. Well, the collective in the backdrop that's fighting the war, actually, guys, it's very apparent who's in control here. The Aryans are back in a big way. And we're going to engineer our way out of this fucking crisis is what's going to happen. It's going to take some time, but
it sounds like there's many pathways too. I mean, with Kennedy bringing up these old bonds, the bond crisis.
Well, Kennedy didn't bring them. They were made with his visage on them. But
no. I'm talking about the new Kennedy guy. He's bringing them up again in December. The goofy one, you know, that has all the great sayings. Anyway. All right, I'm going to run and have some good dinner with my wonderful family, but I appreciate you guys. Please give us a like, share. Make sure you go over to vCypher community over on Rumble and like that and do some research. It's a lot of fun watching some of those videos. So thanks, Ben.
Later.